Tired of fish jumping out? Me too. Stay tuned to find out how to build a DIY mesh top on a budget. Now, making a mesh top is actually incredibly easy, and you can find most things right at your local home hardware or your hardware store. So to do yours, basically all you use is you can either go to a glass shop or a hardware store and get some window frame, the same frame you'd use on any general house window. And the only other thing you'll need is ideally inset corners, which I'll show you those in a second, and some type of mesh for top. Now, one of the more popular options is the clear netting, which for the main reason is just that it lets more light in through in theory. However, I found that to be really distracting. When I see it, it reflected a lot of light from the LEDs, and to me it would just highlight it and show that I have a screen top on it. And I personally don't like tops. I much prefer open top. I think it looks much sleeker and a lot nicer. That being said, my triggerfish has jumped out twice, and my blue line cleaner wrasse has jumped out twice. And it sucks losing fish. Luckily, I was able to save them both and put them back in, and they're both still in there nice and happy swimming around. However, that's made me reconsider putting a top back on. And so let's take a look. For my top, I used the black, actually it came from a fabric store. I think it's for dresses or veils or something like that. But it's extremely thin black netting, and it's very sleek, very low profile. It's on the tank right now, and you can almost barely tell it's there. Now, because my tank's, 5.5, 6 feet long, I did have to add a center brace to my mesh top, and that's just so that when you make the mesh nice and taut, it doesn't bow it in at the centers and keeps it straight and looking nice. So if you have a longer tank, you may have to do that. If yours is 3, maybe even 4 feet or less, you can probably get away without it. Alright guys, so assembling this top is actually pretty easy. To start out, I did glue all 4 of the corners just to make sure it's nice and taut and stayed square. So I used a bit of Gorilla Glue and put on each of my corners, and glued the bar in. For the center rail, I used a piece of, I think it's about an 8-inch steel rod. I drilled a small hole on the center of each side of the bar, and I used a little bit of Gorilla Glue and glued that bar in. Once the glue is dried, a couple hours later, then it's time to bust out some black paint and paint your new frame. I use Krylon Fusion, which says it works for plastic and metals, so it's good for both the corners and the aluminum rails. Alright, 24 hours later, time to put the mesh on. So set your frame on a nice surface like a countertop or a table. You want to take your mesh and lay it over across, make sure the whole frame is covered. And next you start inserting your spline and using your either roller or spline insert tool. And just keep working your way along it. The biggest thing to do is just make sure you're pulling and stretching the mesh and keeping it taut the whole time, so you don't have any sags or bows in your netting. So work your way around all 4 sides. There you have it. We have a nice new mesh top, and personally I think it looks great on the tank. It's very subtle, you hardly even notice it. With being black, it blends in. The biggest thing I think in my eyes is having these inset corners. I did pick these up from a window glass shop, and what they do is allow the lid to just sit just inside the lip, so there's hardly anything protruding above the edge of the glass, and everything's set just inside, which helps keep that sleek look. So if you guys have any questions or anything on building your own top, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe to keep up to date on more great DIY and other fish tank projects.